Welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. Okay, picture this. A place where time, it just seems to slow right down, where your day might genuinely involve things like vineyard tastings, maybe sampling some local jams. Imagine lilacs kind of leaning over roadside fences and the river beside you. It just never seems to hurry. Now think about this. This haven, it's only like 15 minutes from Quebec City, but it feels, really like a totally different world, different mood, different tempo. So today, we're doing a deep dive into Île d'Orléans. People often call it Quebec's deliciously charming island, or its most beautiful getaway. We're going to be digging into insights from a travel blog, Wanderlust Over 70, specifically their recent trip there.
Right. And our mission really is to figure out what makes this island tick. What makes it so special? Why is it such a perfect spot for travelers who want those scenic drives, the local flavor, especially maybe senior travelers, the blog points out? And also, how has it managed to become this sort of living time capsule of French North American history? We'll unpack its charm, the best ways to see it, and pretty fascinating story behind how it's been preserved. Okay, let's get into it.
So the source material mentions something interesting right off the bat, this common reaction people have, like, surprise, they've never visited before, even though it's so close to Quebec City. What is it, do you think, that makes it feel so distinct, so separate?
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's that immediate shift in atmosphere that the blog describes. It really is about a different tempo, where those lilacs flirt with roadside fences and the river never rushes you. It feels very deliberate, like a conscious stepping away from city speed. And the blog does emphasize it's especially ideal for senior travelers. It points to things like, the scenic drives, obviously, the local food, and importantly, very few stairs. So that suggests, accessibility and just ease of enjoyment are really key parts of its appeal.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the writer's own experience seems to back this up, this whole idea of slow travel. They suggest staying at least 2 nights is pretty crucial to actually feel the rhythm of the place. They even say 1 night feels like a rush date.
That really tells you something, doesn't it? Île d'Orléans isn't a place to just tick off a list. You need to give it some time.
Exactly. You need to let it unfold.
Does the blog give any clues about how it maintains that slower feel, being so near the city? That's a really good point, and we'll definitely circle back to that when we talk about the preservation efforts later on. It's key. But this focus on slow, sort of immersive travel fits perfectly with the practical advice the blog gives. They suggest taking a full day, driving clockwise from the bridge. Their own trip kind of shows this. They arrived in the evening, had a relaxed meal at a fun little casse-croûte, like a local snack bar, super casual on the South Coast. Then an excellent breakfast at their B&B the next morning, setting a nice pace.
Right. And a big highlight for them, it seems, was the Seigneurie de l'Île d'Orléans, described as one of the most beautiful gardens in Canada and apparently the benchmark for lavender in Quebec.
Wow. But here's the interesting bit. They went when it wasn't lavender season, and they still found it a fabulous time.
Exactly. That's a great takeaway. It suggests the island's charm isn't just seasonal.
Right, it has this consistent quality. Yeah, the seigneurie appealing, even outside peak bloom, means the island offers something rewarding, pretty much year-round. It broadens the appeal. And for lunch, they hit Le Resto de la Plage. Apparently, one of the busiest and most popular restaurants on the island. The writer raves about an excellent lobster bisque. Notes it was thick, but perfect, not floury or anything.
That sounds good.
That makes you wonder, right? What other little culinary gems are hiding around the island with that kind of quality? The writer even mentions they hoped to add a night, but couldn't find a room. That says a lot about wanting to stay longer.
Definitely.
Their trip wrapped up passing through Petronil before they headed back to Quebec City, actually for an exhibition.
Okay, so the source gives this great breakdown of stops around the islands. To really get a feel for it, maybe we can group them a bit. Like, what about the historical and cultural side of things? Where do you get that immersion?
Good idea. Okay, so right near the bridge in Saint-Pierre, there's the Espèce Félix Leclerc. It's dedicated to a Quebec folk legend. They still have free shows there sometimes. And the tip is to actually walk across the road down to the river to see his memorial. Nice little detour. Then, if you're heading along the north coast into Saint-Famille, you'll find the Église Saint-Famille. That's the oldest parish on the whole island. So real history there.
Oldest parish, wow. And didn't they mention another old building? La Maison.
Yes, good catch. That's on the southeast coast in Saint-Champ. La Maison Mauvaise Jeunesse. The blog calls it an authentic heritage jewel built way back in 1734, during the French regime, the colonial period. Gives you a real tangible sense of the past.
Okay, so history covered. What about the food? The local flavors. That seems huge here.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Back in Saint-Famille on the north coast, there's Domaine Steph-Famille, great for cider, jam sampling. The blog suggests it's a great spot to picnic, too. And maybe grab another snack nearby at Magcasse-Croûte.
Sounds delicious. And in Saint-Jean, near that historic house.
Yeah. Saint-Jean seems like a bit of a foodie spot, too. Roadside stands, there's Côté Sucré for maple everything. Can't go wrong there. An antique shop, Boutique d'Antiquité, and also some of the island's best strawberry and raspberry you-pick fields. You know, where you pick your own.
Fresh berries, maple syrup. Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Now, what about just relaxing, taking in the scenery?
Right, the quiet side. Head to the eastern tip, Saint-François. It's described as the quietest part of the island. You can visit that Maison Ma Vie Jeunesse again there too, apparently, but also just enjoy these wild beach walks. The insider tip is great. Allow an hour or two, bring your camera, maybe binoculars. Says there are no crowds, just birds and a breeze. Sounds peaceful, doesn't it?
It really does, like proper slow travel.
Exactly. And continuing that vibe, on the south coast in Saint Laurent, you can stop at the Marina de Saint Laurent. Good spot for just river gazing.
Yeah?
That area, Saint Laurent, is also where you'll find all the art galleries, apparently. So a bit of culture mixed with the quiet.
Okay. And completing the loop, Saint-Pétronille.
Yep. Saint-Pétronille. Seems like a lovely village to end in. You've got wine tasting at Vignoble Saint-Pétronille, chocolate at the Chocolaterie de Lille, or just strolling through the village itself, described as leafy. The source recommends a sunset walk on the western cliffs there. Says the best light of the day hits around 7-8 p.m. in summer. And there's one of the best cafes right in the village, too.
That sounds like a perfect end-of-the-day trip. Now, for our listeners, especially thinking about accessibility, those tips for senior travelers seem really useful.
Yeah, they are. Most places are car accessible, lots of ramps mentioned, so quite mobility friendly overall.
But there's a note about cobblestones, right?
That's the main heads up. Cobblestones in some areas can be challenging to navigate, so definitely pack good walking shoes. That's essential.
Good tip. Does the blog mention, like, any downsides? Or maybe if it ever feels too quiet for some people?
It doesn't explicitly say that, no. The whole tone really leans into the tranquility being a major plus, especially for the blog's target audience, wanderlust over 70. It really just emphasizes how easy and pleasant the exploration is.
Right, and timing. When's best to go?
The advice is pretty clear. Late June to mid-September is prime time for the blooms, the berries, the bistros being fully open. But then again, October for foliage lovers offers a totally different kind of beauty. So it depends what you're after.
Okay, so that brings us to the why, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why does Ile d'Orléans feel this way? How did it keep this unique charm, this slower pace, right next to a city? It gets called the cradle of French civilization in North America. That's a huge title. How did it earn that? And how does that connect to today?
Well, the story starts way back. 1535, Jacques Cartier lands there, sees all these wild grapes, gets charmed apparently, and names it Isles Bacchus.
Isle of Bacchus, I like it.
Yeah. Then French settlers start arriving in the 1600s, and they lay out the land in a very specific way, these long, narrow farm strips running down to the river. And they built the stone churches, the clapboard houses, the very ones that, amazingly, the source says, still stand today. That physical history is right there. You can see it.
So that continuity is really important.
Hugely important. And then, jumping forward, by the 1960s, the locals started to see it differently. They realized, hold on, this isn't just, another country place. It's basically a living, breathing museum. That shift in thinking among the islanders themselves seems crucial.
So they decided to protect it.
Exactly. The province stepped in. Quebec designated the whole island a protected historic district in 1970, which was like one of the very first in all of Canada. And it wasn't just about, let's save this old church. It was about protecting the entire cultural landscape. The farms, the roads, the views, everything that creates that special atmosphere we talked about.
Wow. And the preservation is really thorough, isn't it? The source mentions strict building codes.
Oh.
Zoning laws prevent overdevelopment. And they even regulate things like paint colors and road signs. That's incredibly detailed.
It is. It's really quite deliberate. And the blog writer notes that somehow that only adds to the charm.
Does the blog talk about any pushback or challenges that might cause for, say, businesses or residents today? Or is it just seen as part of the deal?
The blog doesn't really get into challenges, no. The overall feeling you get is that these rules are widely accepted, precisely because they maintain the island's unique identity. It's part of what makes it special. And the result is, Ile d'Orléans is this rare example of rural Quebec, as it once was. It's not like stuck in amber, not frozen in time, as the source says, but genuinely preserved with love and intention. It's still a place where, tractors still outnumber Teslas, where a berry farm is more likely to be inherited than sold off.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it? That connection to the land, to heritage.
Absolutely. It reinforces that whole unhurried feel. History isn't just in museums there. It feels like it's actually being lived day to day.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive into Ile d'Orléans. We've really uncovered why this charming island, just a stone's throw from Quebec City, feels like stepping back in time. From its peaceful pace and amazing local food to its deep history and these incredible preservation efforts, it really offers something unique.
Yeah, it really shows how a mix of things, natural beauty, smart development, and just a real long-term commitment to preserving history can create a place that's both relaxing and connects you deeply to the past. It's a great reminder, actually, of how knowing a place's story really enhances how you experience it today.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, hopefully you now have a much richer understanding of Ile d'Orléans, whether you're actually planning a trip up there or maybe you're just curious about this little time capsule near Quebec City.
And maybe just a final thought to leave you with. Given how successful Ile d'Orléans has been with its preservation right down to paint colors and signs, which is pretty amazing, it makes you wonder what other places out there could maybe benefit from that kind of really thoughtful, long-term commitment to keeping their historical character. And I suppose, what would the challenges be in trying to apply rules that strict somewhere else? Something to think about.